One of the other things that someone's asked me to talk about is managing our problems. So, if you remember, if you watched, I did talk about this a little bit very briefly, but now we're going to get into a little bit more about how we manage our problems. And just to give credit where credit is due, a lot of this information comes from the social thinking curriculum. So if you do want to look that up, you can just look up socialthinking.com and you can find more information about this. Okay, so when we have a problem, it's important to recognize that we are having a problem. And when we recognize we're having a problem, we're being aware of the problem. It's kind of good to think in terms of the size of the problem. So if we think some problems are tiny, some problems are medium, and some problems are huge, it kind of helps us gauge and understand and be aware of problems. So I'll explain that a little more. I like to use the analogy of if I'm walking on a path and I all of a sudden have a little rock in my way, I can just kick it out of my way with my foot. And that is like a tiny problem. I can handle it on my own. It's not really that annoying. It's just there and I can handle it. A medium problem is where it's kind of maybe a bigger rock. Maybe I might need someone else's help to kind of move it, get it out of my way so I can continue on my path. So I don't need a lot of people's help, but I might need someone's help for a medium problem. And a huge problem, I like to think of a big, huge boulder. And there's no way if I push, if I kick it, if I try to get around it, I can't get around it. What I need is I need a system, like a few people to help me get over it and manage it. Okay, so that's kind of my visual analogies for a tiny problem is like a pebble, a medium problem is like a bigger rock that I can't lift on my own, and a huge problem is a huge boulder. So in the example kind of some problems, we'll say a tiny problem right now might be missing my friends. I can kind of solve that on my own. I can do some things to, like we talked about yesterday, about connecting with friends, and I can try to manage that on my own. A medium problem is like not being able to log on to Canvas because the internet's down or there's some problem or something. I can't fix that on my own. I might need someone's help. I might need to contact my teacher to help coordinate and figure out how to resolve some of those issues. So I need someone to help me solve that problem. A huge problem right now is like when we have an earthquake or even this COVID-19 pandemic in general, because we need a lot of people to help solve it. When there's an earthquake, if there's damage, we need people from the city to come help fix that, to help make it so everything is safe and we're able to continue on. COVID-19, we need a lot of people's help. We need lots of doctors' help. We need lots of people's help to keep people safe by following kind of restrictions of staying at home and keeping our social distance. So we need a lot of people's help to solve these huge problems. So I bet you have had a problem today. Think about, was that a tiny, a medium, or a huge problem? And the important thing about thinking about the size of the problem is because a lot of times when a kiddo comes into my office, they think every problem they have is a huge problem, but it's really not. And especially now that we look back at the year before all this distance learning and COVID-19 pandemic happened, we kind of think about some of our problems and we're like, I really kind of thought that was a huge problem, but really it was not that big of a deal. It's not as big of a deal as the problem I'm facing now. So sometimes when we have bigger problems, it helps put other problems in perspective. But if we think about that, then that might be helpful. So tiny, medium, and huge. When you have a problem, think, is this a tiny problem, a medium problem, or a huge problem? Thanks, guys. Bye.